Mic check. I am here at Search and Rescue with Tawfiq Gaines, so we call you Coach. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Put me in, Coach.
Yeah.
Over here at the Pyramid Loft in Brewery Town. All
Yes.
the information about the shop will go up periodically, so that way you guys can come on down here and check it out yourselves, because it is beautiful, as you can see from this picture.
Pull up.
So, as we usually go, there's going to be a serious question, and for every serious question, there's an unserious question. So, to start, let's kind of get like an origin story. Tell me about the birth of Search and Rescue, and not just as a brand, but as the man who would eventually embody all that this represents wholeheartedly.
Well, it's not really an easy question to answer. Search and Rescue started. I wouldn't say it started in Cheltenham Mall. You know, we had a streetwear boutique called Camouflage Concept Store. The market got pretty slow, and we were forced to go outside of the store to try to make ends meet and liquidate merchandise. Went to different pop-ups, and we started to go to different flea markets and artisan markets in order to drum up business that we were missing inside the store. We didn't really have a name at the time, but going out, seeking provisions, going outside of your home to find, provisions was a seeking of provisions. So first you're searching for opportunity to ultimately rescue yourself. So that was the heart and soul. But on the more surface, it was about vintage. It was about being buyers. Going through different trade shows and going through different, aisles and just seeing product and being able to find this story, through our curation and our buying and our selection process. So all of that ultimately became Search and Rescue.
About how many years are we talking as far as activity goes?
Well, we started, I would say 2011, like hardcore. Before then, it was just finding little things to put in window displays, getting inspired by magazines, blogging, of course. Those things gave us an eye and gave us some experience. So when we got out into the field, we kind of knew what we were looking at.
Okay. So going into it, right? The idea pops in your head as far as this is what we want. This is what you want to do. This is what we want to title it. What was that period like? Like that transition from not doing it to then doing it?
Yeah, it was deep. One of the co-founders of the brand, Kenya Abdul Hadi, him, myself, and another brother named L. Ward. L. Ward is Butcher Shop Rehab. He's from Chester. This is towards the end of the life of the store. We knew we weren't camouflage anymore. We were exposed. We're out here. So we know we got to call ourselves something. We didn't know if it was about a name or if it was about a process, if it was about a service or if it was about a brand. So that caused an ongoing conversation of just names and just perspectives and ideas. What is this thing? So Search and Rescue was the best of the particular options that we threw around at the time. While we were out searching and rescuing. We were on the road. I think we're going to a auction one morning when it really clicked and was like, no, this is going to be Search and Rescue. I think the rest of the team looked at it like it is what it is, but I saw more of a brand. I seen more of a lifestyle. I wanted to kind of reproduce what we were doing already, what we were striving to do already before with Camouflage and some of the other brand ideas that we had. I wanted to recreate that. But I believe for a lot of my other associates at the time and creative partners at the time, they were evolving out of one space and going into another. And I didn't look at it as so much of a disconnect. I looked at it as more of a bridge. So that's where the branding and the t-shirts and still staying true to like pop culture and street art and things like that still play an effect in the brand's DNA. along with the old world and the antiques as well. That's where that marriage kind of pairs.
So initially it was the normal, I guess, the boutique mentality with the clothing and things, and then transitioning into hitting the flea markets and starting to dive into the items and seeing the vintage world as being like a really good sort of play, and then combining the two. You remember what that first item was? When like you were,
Of course, a sewing machine. Like day one, Singer sewing machine is the first thing that I can see and say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna buy that and I'm gonna sell that. That's my lane right there. I know what that is. But things became full circle. Like I told you, we were doing window displays. We were doing fashion. We were already making graphic T-shirts. So we were already inspired. We had Pinterest boards and mood boards, and we were putting together, decks and presentations already for just coming up with concepts. So we understood sourcing. We understood research. We understood time periods. We had a heightened, sense at that, but we just never really pulled the trigger in a real kind of way. It was just theory, on top of style, and we created worlds with that. But to really now see how the antique world plays an effect on the modern world, how, what we're doing, is such a cog in the wheel. That was an education process for us. And when we saw that connection come full circle at the flea market, it was like, oh snap, this is a really real thing. And that's when we started going back into the fashion world and Liberty Fairs, working with Brooklyn Circus, working with other brands like Shot. We were able to go back into those arenas and now provide a service because we understood now from the beginning to the end what it meant to develop a heritage brand.
so you learned the most from being in the field more than anything. Do you think this is the type of thing where it has to be hands-on more than anything? Like
Experience is the best teacher. You have to lose. You have to feel. You have to smell. You have to taste it. You have to learn from the person you're buying from. I learn more from my dealers than I do from the Google internet, because all right, it's one thing to know the name of something and how much it's going for somewhere in the world, but what provoked that individual to buy it and keep it is a whole nother cultural experience that will set a value for you. Sometimes those stories is the value. It might mean nothing until you know the story. So I started getting beyond the surface, and started getting into what it meant to acquire these things, what it meant to the person, what it means to me, and then when I transfer that energy, what is it going to mean to the person that's walking away with it? If you're not thinking about it on those levels, you're going to lose some integrity.
I think it always starts with the story. Why would you care outside of that? For somebody like me, even if there isn't one near present, I'll make up a story. Mm-hmm. But it's those things that bring these items to life. Otherwise, it's just stuff. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to be just left with a whole bunch of stuff. And you wouldn't, like, even these people that you're buying it from, they wouldn't have had it so long if it was just stuff. Mm-hmm. So, like, there is an added value there just because of all the years of it being there. Who knows what's happening around? Like, your life starts to add to that story, and now it becomes this, it becomes the reason why one thing is more valuable than the other because of who this person is and what they did while this was in their possession.
Yes.
So I think that's always been like super cool. And then when you think about the filmmaking aspect, you can kind of use that and then kind of build upon it and see now how far the story can go, because then eventually it comes into somebody else's possession and they use all that story as well to then start building on that moving forward. So that's a super cool aspect of the shop. So why this space in particular, like with this being like the newest iteration of it all, where you've kind of landed and kind of developed this new platform, the live general store, because you were doing it a while before on your own. You were doing the pop-ups, and now you like have like solidified home base.
Yeah.
Why this one?
Just for the sake of being able to tell that story. If you don't have a base camp, if you don't have that foundation, and we've had foundations. This is not the first space we've ever had, so I don't want to slight any of our previous endeavors. We've been in Chester. We have a great space still in Chester. We were in Port Richmond. Most people that know about Search and Rescue, they know about the dungeon. The dungeon is like
I think that's where I met you guys.
Exactly,
Between that and
exactly.
the hangar.
So not taken away from the dungeon, but I think that what this space offered was an opportunity to now perform on stage, and give people a convenient access to that, to be able to observe and to be able to learn what it is that we're doing. And our other locations seemed a bit too remote, and it only worked for tastemakers or service people that we were providing a service for. But that's cool, but you're only as good as your client, so you need other reasons to express, and you need an environment that can that can be sustained. You need a sustainable environment for that. So that brought me here. I've also, I was scouted. I'm not gonna act like this is my keen search and rescue. Now I find the best space. No, M&M Partners, one in particular, Aaron. He was a huge search and rescue supporter. Loved the brand. Loved the clothes. Always challenges me and challenged me previously. As to what I want to do with my business. When he was working on this, I think I was still in Port Richmond. And he gave me an opportunity, a few years after that, to do a pop-up on Girard to kind of like see what I can do for real, to get it past get it past the social media pictures. And myself and another one of my colleagues, Saif, we did Raw Edge Market there. And we curated some brands, some heritage brands. We curated some art. We built out the space instantly, nailed it. We was there for a month. It was great. That left a nice impression. So I guess like we talked about this earlier, you were saying that sometimes you might not have knocked it out the park in terms of your expectations, but then there's also some other things that you can benefit from. And by doing that, it helped build, the Philly reputation, with some people who needed to get a little more closer to what we can do in Philly. And that kept it in his mind more per se. He said, okay, when I get something that I think that worked for you, I'm going to invite you down and take a look at it, and you're going to get first dibs, kind of thing. So he showed me some stuff, we started to build a relationship, started playing golf together, started, eating together, talking about our families together. He invited me to meet his mom and dad. This is before any of this stuff, and I didn't have an end game in mind. I didn't, this wasn't the lineup, for the space, like, yeah, because, it was just like organic, and I loved it. So eventually, when I was leaving Chester, I tried to get a space in West Philly on Market Street, right where Steve Powers did the love letter murals along the L. And one of those buildings is one that says, head hurt, back sore, no more, I swore. And this is to answer your question. When I saw that mural, I said, yo, I'm tired of popping up. I'm tired of just being this fly-by-night cool kid. It's like, yo, I'm servicing big business. I'm competing with big business. I should be big business. I should be stationary. I should be able to do this thing the way I envision it. And when I was expressing that to a lot of my partners at the time, they had different ideas. So there was a time where it was like, all right, I got to kind of prove myself. I got to take my resources and just kind of do something. And then maybe I can reinvite and reimagine a more ideal scenario. But right now, I got to get this off. So that was what the West Philly idea was. And it didn't work out. It ended up just becoming storage. Ended up just maybe doing one photo shoot there, and that was it. God bless the brother that gave me that opportunity, 100%. And then this popped up. And my friend Aaron, he said, yo, look, I got something I need you to look at. It's time. And he walked me through, first he walked me through here before the apartments went in here to look at the graffiti. Because they preserved all of the graffiti inside the building. So now in your lease, if you get a studio here, the graffiti is a part. You can't buff over top of the graffiti. So there's historical names there. There's people that we know. There's guys that are influencers in the city. There's some work inside of these. So being able to bond and talk about those things, he allowed me to come and take pictures and keep some things from my own personal archives for my friends. And then we went into Poth Brewery, same thing. So we're building this bond, And he says, let me show you something. So he shows me a room, which was like a closet, a storage closet. And I took Ibn with me, Ibn Anderson from Artifacts. He's a mentor of mine. Introduced me, him and Kenya, both of them, I'm not taking away from anyone else, but those two more specifically helped develop me as an entrepreneur and as an artist. So, of course, anytime I'm doing something, I'm calling one of those guys. I'm trying to throw stuff at them. I'm giving them all I got just so that they can tell me no or whatever. So I do that with Ib, and I was already kind of vibing with him. So we ended up saying, look, let's take this joint together. You know what I mean? We can go half on the joint, whatever, boom, boom. So that gets us into the space, into the building. I wasn't really sure if I wanted the store yet, but the store was there. It was shown to me, but I didn't take it. I was like, I'm gonna fall back. I'm gonna go with the studio. Let me build some confidence. Let me get out of not having anything to being somewhere stationed every day where I can start having some meetings. But I kept walking past the store. I'm like, fast money done slowed up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I need a store, man. Like, I need to get this stuff off. So, I don't know. I talked to a few people. I listened to some things. I tested a few people. Just seeing, I looked, I observed. I rode my bike around the neighborhood. I know the neighborhood. I'm like, will it work? I said, I don't know. I'm just going to try it. I took that leap. And I didn't expect anybody to believe in me enough to put up for it. Like, half of the people in my life says you're crazy for even thinking about a store. The other half says, a store would be a pretty good idea, but it got to be this type of store and that type of location. So those are the two supportive units that I had, and so I was all alone. And I felt alone at that moment. Of course, not alone, but in my mind, from my perspective, I didn't have the support that I was used to with my ideas, especially the crazy ones. So I said, I'm just going to do it. And I'm not going to put a burden on anybody. I'm going to try to make it work for everybody. That was my intent. Didn't work out that way. A lot of bumps, a lot of bruises, a lot of debates, a lot of back and forths. But we're here now, and it's been almost a year. And getting into that retail groove is the biggest challenge, going from providing services and being more of an internal type of creative, and to going back into having customer service, going back into caring about trends and caring about seasons and caring about whatever, that takes some readjusting, getting back used to from the last time I was in retail. So, that's where you kind of see some of the inconsistencies on social media, or, you might come one day we're closed, next day we're acting like, we're here 7 days a week, so it's that kind of thing. But the location that we're in, it does allow for that flexibility. It is a bit remote. It's a destination, so people are announced before they come most of the time. And if it is unannounced, it's a neighborhood type of person who can double right back. So I've been able to take advantage of that. So
I like it, man. I've always appreciated between you guys, like House of Raul, Culture Couture, is always feeling like going through the wardrobe to Narnia, like wherever the things have been set up at. And this more so than anything, just because, man, it's a playground for somebody with an imagination.
Yeah.
And whether you're a performer, whether you're a buyer yourself, whether you're just somebody that's trying to add some unique pieces to your home, it's like the perfect partner in those different stages of your life.
And that's the concept. It has to be a partnership, or it has to be a relationship. I don't expect anybody to come in here and just hurry up and buy. If you're not spending 30, 15, 20 minutes at a time, you haven't seen anything. Yeah. There's too many nooks and crannies, and it's too much depth. So I don't expect quick transactions, or quick. I expect you to come back. I expect you to bring somebody. I expect you to take pictures. I expect you to ask a lot of questions. And the real service is custom fitting you. If you have a space, bring your measuring tape, take some measurements. Take some pictures. Bring your mood board, and then go home and then come back and put your purchase in. So I've seen a lot of different scenarios, and it's all good.
Shout outs to Scythe a wise man of few words, more hammers than words. So, ridiculous question. You're in here late at night, about to close up, but you suddenly hear some shuffling in the corner. You go to investigate and realize all your stuff has come to life. Do you run off because this is weird, or do you start pondering on how to monetize this phenomenon?
First, I'm trying to establish, are they trying to eat me or not? Once I get past if they're trying to eat me or not, yeah, it's definitely about where we're going to take the circus.
I've been watching a lot of Disney movies of late with my youngest daughter, and it kept crossing my mind, like, why ain't nobody trying to like come up off this? Like we were watching Beauty and the Beast. Whole darn house comes to life. I'm like, what? We'd have put a ticket on the door. Come in here and everybody be our guest, and everything else in between. Why is nobody trying to sell this stuff? And that I actually wrote that question on the way over here, where I was like, man, some of the stuff in here, that would be your attraction. That would be this is the reason for coming out to Search and Rescue. Come out and talk to the Native American lamp guy, or W.C. Fields over there in the corner. Good times at Search and Rescue when the things come to life at night. Come to Search and Rescue after 11 p.m. You will have a blast. So like, you seem to be a super driven dude, whether the team backs the play or not. Where's the high energy drive to push forward and manifest on the daily come from?
I used to want to make money. Now I just want to survive. I think the will to exist is my most burning factor. I don't want to waste away. I don't want to fall in traffic. You know, I want to be a signpost. I want to be a milestone for the culture. I believe I invested a lot of my own personal energy into a lot of entrepreneurs and creatives, and for me to walk away from that because of anything superficial would have thrown all of my work away. So I think that what keeps me going is that I can't stop. There was I don't know if anybody knows about WordPress or Tumblr, but when the first blog post when you used to get Tumblr was a saying from Confucius that it doesn't matter how slow you go, as long as you don't stop. Now this is pre-marathon OG, all right. This is early social media, early bloggers. If you were on Tumblr, you had to have seen this quote.
I remember.
And that resonated with me because I said, wow, you know, it doesn't matter how fast I go, as long as I don't stop. So once I realized that this is who I am Coach Gaines, it was now figuring out what are the manifestations, you know, how does he manifest himself? And what aspects in the culture is he lending himself? Is it through consultation? Is it through service? Is it through design? Is it through, you know, building strategic teams, strategic partnerships? Is it through retail? I've exercised all disciplines, and I just feel like I can't stop. And I was just talking to you about my commute, and I just moved, so now my commute is a little longer than it would normally be. So being on a bus or being on a train, I get to have some time. You know, I want to get into writing, you know, whereas though there's things that I want to sell or things that I want to do or things that I want to get out into the market that it's just way ahead of its time. And the only way that I'm going to do any of it justice is by writing it down and putting it in a book form and letting it be somewhat of a doctrine for the brand that can be adopted even if the brand is not necessarily on the market. You know, so those are the things that keep me going. You know, my imagination, the internet, period. You know, looking at how it started from, you know, code and language that only certain people can understand to now you can't live without software. You know, we've made it to the moon. You know, I'm sure some people have their theories about that, but software, they needed a computer to at least get into a certain level of the stratosphere. So all of these things has empowered me and enabled me to not be discouraged by what I don't have, which keeps me focused on going and moving forward. keep up the search. You'll see that from time to time in my hashtags.
Yeah, I completely relate to that because I enjoy the process more than anything because there's always an opportunity to learn something. Even doing this, I didn't know anything about this, but I knew that it was going to be fun because I get to figure it out. Like my first couple podcasts sound like crap, and I still put them out. So like you can literally see the growth in just like the production. It's still not the greatest. I don't care. I was thinking like I always go back to like the beginning of something. And I was talking to somebody recently, and I was like, I'm kind of inspired right now with these recordings, thinking about the punk rockers of the '60s in the UK and whatnot, where like the equipment was inferior, but we consider that stuff to be classics.
Yeah.
We consider it to be hits.
Yeah.
When I'm working with certain cameras and whatnot, and everybody's like, oh man, Red or the RE, like anything else is obsolete. And it's like, well, what about all the movies we love that weren't shot on that we consider classics? Are they not classics anymore? Are they not great movies anymore because we've moved on with the technology? Yeah. Like, so that means like, you know, that stuff should still hold. It should still hold strong in certain places. Maybe not in the spots where everybody are so technically driven, but the people that are just looking to be entertained and looking to have a good time or looking to learn something, none of that stuff matters. And so I'm constantly chasing that aspect of it. Like, how much more can I learn? Like we were talking about earlier, because the more you know, the more rules you can break. Mm-hmm. So there used to be this running thing where a guy would say, when he was explaining folks about me, Classic does what he does because he doesn't know any better. And that was it was a big thing earlier on, because I would just, you know, if it came to mind, it felt right, I'd do it. Right. But now it's still like, all right, well, let me read this book. Let me see why this person did that. Let me understand this. Let me pick this camera up. Let me bang with these settings. Let me understand with these settings. And now let's destroy and rebuild, because we have like a good understanding of where everybody else is with it. We can meet them there. We can take them somewhere else. Yep. But you gotta love the system more than the goal, because then what do you do when you never reach it, or what do you do when you do reach it? And that was like,
yeah, it's falling in love with the process, 100%.
Yeah. Oh man. So even, what would you say is the most recent thing that you fell in love with about the process?
People. I've been rediscovering people. At one point, I was all over the stuff. You know, it got to be mid-century. It got to be this. It got to be, you know, Herman Miller. It has to be Milo Bowman. Oh, who's that artist? Okay, what's on the back of that? What's this time period? That means nothing to me no more. I mean, it means a lot, of course, because that's where, you know, you get your you know, you get to appraise value, of course. I mean, I'm not saying that means nothing, but that's not my motivation. It was more like we were saying, some of that connectivity behind the product, behind the item. The people that come in and work with me is way more fulfilling than what I have. You know, for instance, if I curate items, no one's buying for the same reason I'm selling. So now when you come in and now you're getting inspired and it's connecting you to whatever you need to do, that process right there is sending me off into a whole nother space. And there was a young lady that came yesterday. Well, she's been coming. She's a friend of mine. But as yesterday, she really got it in with me. You know, her name is Bird. And she, you know, she works with this with antiques and found objects and salvage, and she knows how to merchandise. And you know, when she was in here working with me, you know, she was putting things places that I wouldn't have put it. She was, you know, pairing things that I wouldn't pair, and she was reintroducing to me what I already owned. And I'm like, oh man, you know, that Alicia does that to me. Alicia DeLarge, my gosh, man, she. You know, she'll see things, and she'll fold things, and she'll put things under a certain light or a certain perspective. Even my sister Shakira, her product shot photography, it's insane. It's like, I don't know, it didn't mean anything to me before she shot it with the phone. So all of that is now giving me a new energy. You know, of course, Ken, just seeing what Ken come back with. Forget that. I don't even want to shop. Ken, go. I want to see what you got, you know. So when Ken and Syfe pull up with the white truck, and we're playing show and tell, And I know that I already know they're gonna show me something that is gonna blow my mind. It's gonna be something that teaches me something. So those are the things that mean the most. And then when I go back into a place where I'm seeing things that I've never seen before, but I'm attracted to it for a reason that my education has drawn me to, that is intriguing me a lot more now than what motivated me when I first started, like the sewing machine, or like a vintage motorcycle jacket that's a no-brainer to buy. I might see something in its shape might be enough for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna bring this into inventory, and figure it out later. So those are the things that I appreciate the most now. And then if you can get that off, the icing on the cake is that if I flip it upside down, it's actually high-end name brand, or it's an exclusive artist, or there's knowledge behind it. It's not just something you thrifted. It was some research, So that's like if they say you want to make somebody throw up, that's that moment. It was like, damn, it looked crazy, and it looks random, and then when I flip it over, it's something that it's even more depth to it even now, even more so now. So those are the things that kind of get me going, and it's people, man. How people respond, how people use, even the whole repurpose, reuse. Nothing's trash. The ingenuity of it all. That's hip hop. Dig it in the crates. Going through things. My sister came in here one day, and she had her regular iPod and her regular stuff that she listens to, and then we got a whole bunch of vintage records in. So now she's not even a DJ, but just by default, she's looking up the names on the records that we get, which is allowing her to make certain price, so we can price things. But that's making her phone now remember all of the names that she's searching and Googling. So when she goes to play whatever her, your personal radio, it plays things based off what you were searching, what you were listening to. She had this crazy playlist now of 1920s all the way up to 2018. I said, oh, snap. In and out of genres, Christmas music mixed with jazz, mixed with, and I'm not saying that I'm listening to all of this to be entertained. It was the perspective of it all that was a quantum leap for me. I went out of this current space and I was somewhere else. So if I can produce that for other people, that's what I want. That's where I really want to be at. How does it speak to you? So that's pretty much where I'm at with it these days.
People and the hunt. The people are always going to be the biggest form of inspiration, just like the word of mouth is always going to be the biggest form of promotion, because you don't know how they're going to interact with things, and that's the biggest learning experience. Somebody walks in here and you set things up a certain way, and they walk right past it and be super lit up about that. Now you got to look at that.
Look at yourself. Look at that. Look at him. Like, all right,
what
maybe I had this thing all wrong.
Yeah, now we got to build on this. Like,
yes,
like this is always a learning process if you're paying attention to it and not constantly trying to like drive a cell down someone's throat, but more so just sitting back and seeing where they go, seeing how they work the room, how they figure it out, and just be ready when they do land on something and the eyes light up. That's it's amazing, man.
Thank you.
Ridiculous question.
Okay. I'm scared. I know one of these questions is gonna be a curveball, man.
One of these days, superheroes will realize they don't have to be nice. They'll say, hey, I'm a superhero, therefore I can make my own rules. And then they'll just start teeing off on folks.
Okay. But
not you, because you have an amazing shop. What do you think it is about this shop that makes these superheroes that now don't respect anybody respect you?
We have superhero supply and capes. We support the uniform.
This is true.
You can't kill a plug, man. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line, man. You know what I mean?
That's something you used to say earlier on, man. Like supplying the uniform. That's I'm always amazed at like throwing out like a random question, like where the people go with it, how we can rationalize the craziest things, and on the back end, it's like, man, that was hella logical.
Well, I'm an imaginative person. I'm always using crazy examples to make my points. I think I turn people off sometimes with
You
some
are
of my
the analogy
examples.
king.
Huh?
You are the analogy king.
Well, you see the fro. You know? You can relate to that.
So is there any other last takeaways from the brand, the shop, the man to leave the folks with? We're also gonna we're gonna throw the ads up, the different information in the comments on the screen. But what's that last takeaway from you?
If you guys are just finding out about Search and Rescue or just finding out about Coach Gaines and some of the things that he's concerned about, think Parks and Recreation. That this is a place for us to coexist. I want to take this social media experience, this community that we've built of like minds, style, icons, influencers, and I want a place that that we can all kind of gravitate to in Philadelphia. A friend of mine just came back up from Baltimore, and a part of his Philly trip was to come to Search and Rescue. That meant a lot to me. It felt like I'm contributing to the culture, the overall culture. And even if it only speaks for a niche group, somebody's coming to Philadelphia, and Search and Rescue experience is a part of that experience. So I just encourage that. Don't be discouraged by not understanding everything that we're doing here. We want to answer questions, and we want to inspire. So you're not Joe. It ain't, you don't have to be pretentious around us. We're not going to put you out there like you're really not the real thing. If you know about us and you come through, you're real enough. And that's all we can appreciate and ask for.
I thank you for your story, sir.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay, that was Coach Gaines. Put me in, Coach. Search and Rescue.
You're in, man. You're
at
in.
the Pyramid Loft, Brewery Town. Stop on by. Check in with them first to see if they're open. But more than likely, they're open, and you can
probably open, probably not. Check with us on social media first.
And you're definitely going to come in here. You're going to find the thing that's going to change your life. Classic out.
Peace.
Baby,